Is that your automatic seats?
Yeah, I was just leaning it back. I'm just trying to get decent lighting in the car.
Well, we're live now. This is our little intro, soft intro. Um, Thanks everybody for tuning in and seeing me and Jesse here. We're going to get to the video here real quick. If you're tuning in for the interview, it may or may not happen. We'll see. But I'm going to kick it off here with the video, and we'll see what happens after that.
Thank you for listening to this Belly Up Sports Podcast Network product. Some said we go belly up, so we made it our name, and we're still here.
Jordan. Oh, a spectacular move by Michael Jordan. Drives one out to deep left field. This one's got a chance to get out of here. Gone! Three-run Jimmy Jack first big league home run for Mike Trout.
Pass is intercepted at the goal line by Malcolm Butler.
And an 81-point game, 55 in the second half. Ladies and gentlemen, you have witnessed the second greatest scoring performance in NBA history.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Infinity Sports. We are live again, and as you can see, Jesse is making a repeat performance as the co-host. What's going on, Jesse?
What's up, Wayne? The fans couldn't stop, slamming on my door, man. They wanted me to come back for another performance, an encore, if you may. So here I am.
Cool. Well, hopefully you do encores the way Garth Brooks does, because he crushes them.
Oh, man, you and Garth Brooks.
Obviously, if you're watching us, it is on either the Facebook Live page or the YouTube Live page. You can also catch the show on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and Amazon Music. You can catch replays of the video on YouTube, which is our own channel as well. If you want to reach out to us on social media, you can find us on Infinity Sports at Infinity Sports Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and at Sports Infinity 5 on Twitter. The website is www.infinitysportspodcast.com. That will take you to any of the social media and any of the outlets where you can listen to or watch the show, as well as we have a store where you can purchase Infinity Sports apparel, 12 is greater than 9 apparel, and, of course, the Sully collection, which we need to upgrade. So no bones about that. I was trying to think of some good shirts we could put into the store. I know we talked last episode about Leroy Ellis has to be in there. I was also trying to think of some other movie quotes. Sully mentioned one to me. Bonesaw's Ready is one that he likes.
Okay. I think, they just have to come up organically, and, you'll know for a fact when you say it that, you'll feel it, and you'll know that it belongs on a t-shirt somewhere, and I love the limited release ideas that you had originally. So when we put out a shirt, we got to take it down. So when we put something up, that's when 12 is greater than 9 is going to end up being, taken down. So get it while you can before we end up putting some other great idea up in the store.
Yeah, so far past the 12 is greater than 9 incident that I think nobody even really remembers what it is anymore. So, yeah, definitely got to freshen that up a little bit. So a big show tonight. It's supposed to be an interview with Ronnie Fields. If you're tuning in for that, he has not joined us yet. Not sure if he will. If he does, we have a bunch of questions teed up. In the meantime, we're going to proceed with a different show, which is our usual Wednesday show when we don't have a guest. So Jesse's going to partake in that, which means we have greater than. We've got our NFL football picks. But, of course, first things first, we have the news. The news. The news is brought to you by Invader Coffee. Invader Coffee is an official sponsor of Belly Up Sports. You can visit their website at invadercoffee.com, and you can make purchases there, which includes a clothing line with a lot of Grim Reaper type stuff on it, because it is a veteran-owned business. So you're going to see a lot of that stuff, and especially today. Happy Veterans Day to anybody who served. Thank you for serving. We certainly appreciate it. Support those who served by buying Invader Coffee and getting 15% off with the code BELLYUP. It is 100% organic. It is 100% air roasted, and they have a 100% money back guarantee. So even if you don't like it, you can always send it back. You get your money back. So definitely support the troops and support those who served and who are still around. Definitely big confusion with Veterans Day and Memorial Day. I'm like, Memorial Day are the people who aren't here. Veterans Day celebrates the people who still are.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to honor both when they both have their day for us to be able to do that. It's not just a day off of work for folks. It's a day for us to remember and thank. So definitely a big thank you to all those out there who served. And, thanks for anybody out there who may be watching who served as well.
Yeah, for sure. We definitely appreciate it. We definitely respect everybody who did it. I had an opportunity to go into the armed services out of high school, two actually. One was the Army and one was the Marines. I looked at both. At the end of the day, I'm too much of a puss bag. I can't do it. So definitely tons of respect for people who can.
I'm willing to admit that there are people much more confident in their abilities and more brave than I. So I thank all those men and women out there that are better than myself.
The first bit of news that we have for the news, obviously, Alabama, COVID-19, the AD as well as Nick Saban test positive. They're going into that game with LSU. LSU also has some COVID-19 tests. But if I'm not mistaken, and you can correct me because you're the big Alabama fan, isn't this the second time that Nick Saban has gotten COVID-19? Because prior to that, I think Sarkisian coached a couple of games.
Yeah, I wasn't. I was pretty close to actually correcting you because I hadn't seen that Saban had contracted it for a second time, but I know for a fact that he had contracted it just a few weeks ago. So if that is something that is more recent, then that is for sure his second time contracting it in this short football season. That can't be a good sign at all. This gentleman is over 60 years old and is an Alabama legend. So I do know that the game has been postponed. There were some LSU positives. Now there's some Alabama positives. So certainly not looking good down in the Southeast Conference for the coronavirus and its effect on football.
I am surprised that we're seeing it now because it seemed like when the SEC said we're just going to roll and we're not going to go out there and we're going to play, I thought for sure we'd have 5 or 6 teams that everybody was testing positive. But I guess they've done a pretty good job of keeping it under wraps.
Yeah, this is the wave that I think, it's, football isn't immune to it. Nowhere in the world is. I think we're seeing a second wave in it right now, taking different parts, and it's going to affect everything really, whether it be school, work, or the sport that we all want to see.
I'm definitely excited to. I never get a flu shot, like I never do, because I'm like, whatever, my immune system will figure it out. But I'm definitely going to be in line for the that Pfizer COVID shot because it sounds like within 28 days, because you have to get 2 doses of it, I think a couple weeks apart. But within 28 days, you're immune to COVID. It's a true vaccine, and it says 90% effective. So I think that's a total game changer going into next year.
Yeah, I'm still curious as to when we'll actually see that, and as soon as we do, you mentioned it, the line's going to be insane.
Yeah, for sure. The next bit of news we have is the Houston Rockets. There's some uncertainty. Russell Westbrook, James Harden, they've come out and said that, they aren't sure what direction the franchise is going in. It definitely seems like, one, if not both of them may get traded. I'm just curious to get your take. I don't think they move on from both of these guys. I think they would keep Harden and move on from Westbrook.
Yeah, you certainly can't move on from both. I know that Daryl Morey isn't there anymore. So they're certainly open to making moves. They've dedicated plenty of years to this offensive mindset, this three-point mindset of trying to really compete with Golden State, and they haven't made it into the finals once throughout, Daryl Morey's tenure or James Harden's tenure. So I definitely see one of them moving. I think the more valuable player is James Harden, but the one that you're probably going to see moved, you're right, is Russell Westbrook. But I think that James Harden is the better player. I think he's Houston's everything. I don't think you can move him and get a proper return.
They put up similar stats, I think, where Harden is greater than, to use a nice segment come up, where Harden's greater than is he's a much, much, much better shooter, from outside. So Westbrook, that's his Achilles heel, that and the fact that he plays completely out of control.
Yeah.
But basically, Westbrook's going to get you rebounds. He's going to get assists. He's going to score points, but he's a slasher. Harden's a more complete offensive player. So I agree. I think Westbrook is the one that gets moved. I think he's a tremendous player. And I've seen there's some rumors he could go to the Clippers. I've seen rumors he could go to the Knicks. Honestly, I like the idea of him going to the Knicks and playing with RJ Barrett and Knox. I think a nice young team that his kind of like when we brought KG into the Celtics, he has that kind of, fire. Like he's going to get out there and go 100 miles per hour. He's going to make everybody else go 100 miles per hour too.
Yeah, that fire and that veteran leadership could really help. I mean, his playoff experience, even though it hasn't been finals experience could really be valuable to that New York roster. And it could really help out, the coaches there as well, because don't they have a brand new coach?
They do, I think. I'm not 100% sure. I know they'd interviewed Jeff Van Gundy, but I don't think he was hired, so I'm not sure exactly who they.
Yeah,
They may not have chosen one yet.
I can't remember the exact name. I thought they had narrowed down to somebody, but it certainly helped to have somebody like Russell Westbrook. But the main reason why I would want to keep James Harden is the guy just put up more than 35 points a game this past season. He didn't win the MVP, but he had an insane offensive year. So I would take his offensive efficiency over Russell Westbrook's his craziness. He's not always as focused as you need him to be.
Now, the other bit of news is tomorrow the Masters starts, and it's crazy to have the Masters in November because it always takes place in April in the springtime. And now, it's Georgia, so it's going to be warm or warmer. But I'm sure a lot of turtlenecks we'll see out there, some sweaters, some sweater vests, and it's going to be really interesting because I know that Bryson DeChambeau looks completely unbeatable the way that he's playing. But I'd love to see Tiger repeat. He probably won't, but I'd love to see it.
Yeah, I'm very excited to watch, the Masters. This is probably the one golf tournament a year that I do make sure to watch as much of as I can. And I am rooting for Tiger as much as I can. I do think it'll probably end up being the field. It's hard to repeat, especially where he hasn't played as much this year. But I think that it's going to be a very entertaining tournament. I think that the weather that we've seen, even up here in New Hampshire, because you and I both live in New Hampshire, the weather recently has been warm enough for us to actually feel like it could be Masters time, but it's just weird to see it at this time on the calendar.
Yeah, and I do a Masters pool, and I win it every year at work. Hundreds of dollars. I only put $20 in, but I think I won $500 and something one year. Because we pick 5 golfers, and it's like you can pick 2 from like the really good players list, and then the other 3 have to come off of like the average guys list. Yeah. And then they bring based on money how they finished. And the one that I picked that's kind of a long shot, I actually crossed him off, and then I went back and rewrote him in. Is Ricky Fowler. I think I like Ricky Fowler. I think this course sets up for him because he's a finesse game type of player. And Augusta, typically, that's good because the greens are so fast there. I was going to replace him with Jason Day. Jason Day always performs well in the majors. But I was like, I just got this feeling. And so if Ricky Fowler gets the green jacket, it's like, hey, thank you, gut. I'm never going to doubt you again.
Yeah, golf is one of those things where it's pretty up in the air, especially this year of all years. Brooks Koepka, always seems to be able to do certain things. And, can't mention golf without mentioning that shot the other night, the other day where that gentleman, I think it was Ham.
John Rahm.
Oh, look at you. You got it teed up. Look at you. That's perfect.
Yeah, skipping it over the water.
Oh, yeah, and a hole-in-one. I mean, what an amazing shot. You couldn't redo that if you had 1,000 attempts, and it's just so magical. I watched that on the news because I didn't see it live, and I was just like, oh, my word. The skill it takes, and a large portion of luck as well. But it was just an amazing shot for him to be able to do that. So definitely nice, and didn't know you had that teed up. So nicely done.
Yeah, no worries. I had it set up because it was a crazy shot, and you do see so often guys skip the ball on the water. I've seen Tiger Woods do it. I've seen a bunch of different people skip the ball, but I've never seen somebody skip the ball for a hole-in-one. So that's pretty sick.
Oh, it was such a crazy combo. Like, if he'd have gotten it close, it still would have been impressive. But for the fact that it made its way all the way into the hole was just superb.
Yeah, it's got to be one of the top plays of the year of the ESPYs,
Oh, absolutely.
Except it wasn't during the tournament; it was a practice round. So
I'd still put it in,
All right, it is time for our favorite segment, Greater Than. We allotted ourselves enough time to maybe get 15 or so minutes out of this. So we got some different things we're going to go back and forth with on Greater Than. I'll throw 2 items out there. Jesse will throw 2 items out there, and we will discuss which is greater than which. You went first last time, so I'm going to pull one up here for you. And this one is especially for you, by the way. I wrote this one down just for you. Jordan on the Wizards, LeBron on the Lakers.
It is a few years age difference, correct? At that point, Jordan was a few years older. He was probably 39, 40, and LeBron's, 36, 37?
It was 3 years.
I mean, that's a long time, especially in that age. But I'll step away from my heart here, and I'll say that the performance that LeBron had in this last year, especially, was all time. He didn't win the MVP, but he certainly could have won the MVP. He deserved to be in the top 3 or 4 names mentioned. So I would say for that particularly, the Lakers version of LeBron at that age is greater than Jordan and his performances as a Wizard, even though he did average, I think it was 20 or 21 points a game in his final year as a Wizard. So definitely an impressive performance as Jordan, for Jordan, and I'm a huge Jordan fan. But I'm not going to sleep well tonight, but I'm going to pick LeBron as a Laker.
Well, that's why I had it down, because I felt like you have to. I mean, LeBron James, like you said, he was an MVP candidate this year. He averaged like 25, 8, and 10. He led the league in assists. He's just such a great player. His longevity is very Brady-like, where he just continues to get better and better. I do think he's better. I do like to also bring up the story, and I mentioned it on a couple of shows. I'll do it again because I love doing it, which is that I got to see Michael Jordan play his first game with the Wizards. And it was really, really cool. Huge crowd. We waited. It was me and my grandmother. We got tickets. We paid $400 per ticket. But I was live in attendance when Michael Jordan suited up for the Wizards for the first time.
Wow. Yeah, I'm definitely jealous. Unfortunately, never got a chance to see Jordan play. I would just love an opportunity to see him talk. But definitely impressive that you were able to go and see him. And I know that you've gone to see a few different NBA games and be close enough to see just how fast and crazy the gameplay is.
Oh, it's nuts.
So my greater than is I've got I'm going to start with a movie one here and get this one right out of the way. And I talked this one out with my mom, and it is Steven Seagal or Jean-Claude Van Damme.
So it's a difficult decision for me because Jean-Claude Van Damme is the better martial artist. I mean, I think it's hands down his flexibility, his aerial attack moves and whatnot. But looking at Seagal's catalog with Out for Justice, Hard to Kill, Marked for Death, Under Siege 2, right? I mean, these are great movies. Van Damme, Bloodsport, not that great. Lionheart, awful. Kickboxer, crap. Cyborg is absolutely one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. However, I do say that Time Cop.
That's the one I was going to mention.
Time Cop is my favorite Van Damme movie, and it's also my favorite time travel movie. And I'm a big time travel buff. Like, I'm a nut about time travel. And so that's my favorite time travel movie. But total catalog, I'm giving it to Seagal.
Oof. See, I would say that I enjoyed Jean-Claude's performances more so than anything from Seagal. I think that both of them certainly had their heyday. They were impressive during that decade or so that they were making a ton of movies. But I definitely enjoyed Van Damme's movies much more.
Well, Van Damme was in The Expendables 2. We have yet to see Steven Seagal in The Expendables. So I know he's a sheriff up in Alaska or something, but I'm so to see him.
He's pretty chunky these days. I mean, you can definitely see him doing some very slow martial arts coaching or training, and it is very rough because of how slow and unagile he has become. Pretty chunky.
He was kind of Frankensteinish before he got all the weight.
It's not good now. It's definitely bad. He needs some oil.
All right, so this one is the basketball one. Shaquille O'Neal, Hakeem Olajuwon.
That's crazy because I had a basketball one that was about bigs as well. So I think this is a great one because these are probably two of the more dominant big men of all time. I think that Hakeem Olajuwon doesn't get the credit that Shaq does because Shaq played on the Lakers and played with Kobe and was able to win more championships there and then throughout his career. But I'm going to end up taking Hakeem Olajuwon. I think that he was more versatile on the offensive and defensive side. People will still try and contact Hakeem Olajuwon to teach them the footwork that he used even now. So it was impressive to see his come up collegiately and then professionally. And I do a lot of drafts with some friends, and he's someone that's drafted very, very early.
Yeah, Hakeem's footwork is second to none. There's nobody who has as good a footwork, and even Kobe Bryant, I think, did like 2 or 3 summers at Hakeem Olajuwon's big man camp to learn post up footwork, which is why Kobe was so good in the post as well. He just learns that footwork, which is phenomenal. Hakeem was more versatile as a scorer. He could shoot jumpers. He could knock down free throws. His fadeaway was lights out. And that said, I love dominant players, and we talk about Wilt Chamberlain's my number one all-time greatest player, and if there's a doppelganger for Chamberlain, it's Shaquille O'Neal. Just the way he dominates the paint, scores at will. You say, oh, well, Wilt Chamberlain played against these little 6'5" milkmen. Well, that's what it looked like Shaq was playing against. Like, he was killing people. And so I love the dominance. I love the thunder dunks. I loved the fact that Shaquille O'Neal's rookie year, they switched from a glass to a plexiglass backboard because he had shattered all these backboards in college. And they're like, we're going to make our hoops Shaq proof. And what he did is he just like broke these like 1 foot in diameter bolts that were in the hinge system for the hoops. So he didn't shatter the backboard, but he broke 2 hoops his rookie year.
Yeah, he's definitely the more physical player, the more dominant player. I think, the refs certainly had to change the way they called the games because of him, more so than Olajuwon. But I think Olajuwon is more fun to watch offensively, and I think they're both very, very good defensively. But I would take Olajuwon's ability to defend both in the post and probably out on the perimeter as well.
All right.
I don't want to use my basketball one that I had right away, so I'm going to go ahead and jump into a football one here. Okay. And I'm going to say Peyton Manning or Drew Brees. Who's the greater player to you, Wayne?
I think I have to go Peyton Manning. I know that he's the adversary to Brady because there's always Peyton and Tom. And Brees came along towards the end. He's there now, but he's also at the end of his career. Brees has only won 1 Super Bowl. He's only been to 1 Super Bowl, I think. So whereas Peyton Manning went to 4 Super Bowls, he won 2 of them. So that's one part of it. And I also think that Peyton Manning has the bigger arm. I mean, Brees is the king dink and dunker, and that's why you look at Michael Thomas getting those 130 receptions or whatever. They're all little 5-yard passes because Brees just – I'm not saying he can't throw the deep ball, but he prefers to throw a short ball. Peyton Manning threw a great deep ball up until the end of his career when his neck, he couldn't really throw the ball anymore, a lot of ducks. But early in his career, he had a good arm and, just a bigger player. Again, Drew Brees, 6 feet, maybe 5'11". Peyton's at 6'6". He can see over the line. He's got the big arm. He also designed his whole offense. So it's basically when he went to Denver, he was the offensive coordinator in Denver because he brought his entire offense with him and taught it to all the players. Whereas Drew Brees has been in a system, and I hate that because people use it against Brady, but it is true. So I'm going to take Peyton Manning.
Yeah, I definitely think that Peyton Manning has one of the bigger minds in all of football, especially offensively, where he's been offensive coordinator or part offensive coordinator probably for every team that he's been on, all those Colts years and those Broncos years that he had. I would also choose Peyton Manning, probably more so on the stats. I think that second Super Bowl victory, I'm going to put more so on the Denver defense than on anything that he did. I think he looked atrocious by then. And then, remembering the beatdown that Seattle put on that Denver team as well. So not looking at his playoff performances because, he got beat down a lot by New England as well. But I think the things that he was able to do throughout his career from first year on, I'm going to choose Peyton Manning as well. I think he is the superior quarterback, but I do think that both belong in the top 5 all time.
All right. Now I've got a Christmas movie one. This is because we're getting into the season. And
season, Wayne.
I love Christmas movies as much as anybody. So these 2 are my 2 favorite, and I'm not going to tell you what order. We'll get into that. But Elf, Christmas Story.
I'm just going to ask you for clarification. Christmas Story is the little red BB gun?
Yes, Red Ryder BB gun.
Okay. My preference is going to be Elf is greater than a Christmas Story. I'm not a fan of that film at all. I hate that they throw it on a loop. I think Elf is, generational. It's one of those things that, Will Ferrell is going to put on his Mount Rushmore of movies throughout his catalog. He's done a lot of great ones, but that one's probably going to be right up there in his top 4. It was so great, the comedy in it, the singing, the actors that, were involved. I think that I'm going to choose Elf all day.
So for years and years, Christmas Story was my favorite. So you talk about putting it on a loop, and I'm like, I probably watch it 3 times in 24 hours when it's on TNT. I just love the story. I love the narration, the talk about youth and kind of being excited about that one Christmas present. I mean, I think we've all felt that way.
Oh, yeah.
So I really feel it. And when I watch it, even the opening scene of the movie, they're standing outside the toy store and it's snowing and there's Christmas carolers by like a bucket with some fire. And it's so Old Town Christmassy. And I love Christmas. I hate the snow, but I love it for Christmas time. And I will walk around in the snow. I will walk around. I look at candy canes. I've been Christmas caroling. I just love Christmas. It's the greatest thing in the entire world. And to me, that movie really captures what I love about Christmas. That said, it took a few years, but Elf did surpass it as my number 1. It's heartwarming, it's great, and it's the perfect mixture for Will Ferrell, who's constantly trying to figure out how stupid can I play this in the movie, and almost every time he goes over the line to make it stupid instead of funny. Step Brothers is an exception where he had the perfect amount of stupid, and I think Elf as well. I think he played the stupid just the right amount that he made it charming, and he was a very likable character. And then, of course, you have Jon Favreau as the doctor, who was also the director of the movie. And anything Jon Favreau directs, I'm pretty much in, with the exception of Cowboys and Aliens.
Yeah, almost anything he touches these days ends up becoming gold, especially under the Disney umbrella. But yeah, Will Ferrell definitely crushed that performance. I don't think there's been a better holiday movie that's come out since then. To be honest, prior to that, my favorite is actually The Santa Claus with Tim Allen.
Okay.
I really, really enjoyed that one. I mean, I could watch that one every year as a tradition. Really love that one. Not so much the sequels, but that original definitely hits every year.
Yeah, excellent.
Another one I have for you is The Office, because I feel like you've seen a good amount of The Office. True.
Yep.
Okay. And I don't know if you've seen this other one, but Parks and Rec.
So here's the thing that might make it unfair. So first of all, The Office is one of my favorite shows of all time. Parks and Rec has a similar feel to it, so I understand the comparison. There's no laugh track. It's very much of a kind of like a documentary-ish type of shoot to it.
Yeah, where there's always people looking at the cameras in both shows.
Yeah, exactly. So I kind of like that style. I only saw the first season of Parks and Rec, and I didn't like it a whole lot. Everyone told me that you have to start season 2 is when it really picks up. And so I really have to get to season 2. So it's unfair because I've only seen that first season. The Office, I've seen every single episode. And to me, I mean, I understand people really like, was it Ron Swanson?
Yeah.
But, Ron Swanson, I'm going to take, Michael Scott is greater than Ron Swanson.
You are because you've only seen one season. He is amazing throughout every season. In that first season, they're really formulating some people and building character. But the more that show goes on, the better he and a few other of the prime characters get. Mark Brandanowitz is the city planner, and he's pretty much gone after the first season. And it opens up more time, more comedy. Chris Pratt gets better every season in that show. And Nick Offerman as Ron Swanson is amazing. So I mean, personally, that's the one that I take. I think that both are funny shows, but I don't think that the Parks and Rec actually has a bad season. Whereas I do think that there are bad seasons and cringeworthy moments on The Office. I don't think there's a cringeworthy moment on Parks and Rec. I can't watch the episode where Michael Scott doesn't end up giving out the scholarships.
Oh, yep. Was it? It's like Scott's Tots or something like that.
Oh man, it's cringeworthy. You can't watch. So it's I think the longevity. Any show that allows itself that much longevity allows itself some opportunities to miss, and I think that show The Simpsons, and then Game of Thrones. Even when you go on that long, you allow people to pick you apart, and I think that I may be picking The Office apart, but when they lost Michael Scott, they certainly lost a lot of thunder. When they lost Steve Carell, I didn't love when Will Ferrell jumped on there or when Idris Elba was on there. A funny show, but I enjoy every character from Parks and Rec in every season.
All right. Well, my last one, because we'll each do one more here before we get into our football picks. My last one's also going to be a movie one. This is action movies, and you're going to tell me the greater than series or the collection. Lethal Weapon, Die Hard.
I'm going to take the Lethal Weapon series. I actually really enjoy Mel Gibson as an actor more, and I think that series provides more comedy. And that's really what I value more, I think, in most movies, even if if it leans itself more heavily to action. I think the comedy in that movie between Mel Gibson and help me out here, Wayne, who was it?
Danny Glover.
Yeah, I think the interactions between them are all very great in all of that in all those series. So I would take the Lethal Weapon series over the Die Hard series. I think the Die Hard series has gotten to the point now where it feels like the Fast and Furious or Saw. Like what do we have, like 5 of those now?
I don't even know.
Yeah, it's too many to me. So I would certainly take Lethal Weapon.
See, I'd take Lethal Weapon as well. And I will say this: I think that the original Die Hard movie is the best of any of them, either collection. Yeah. But that said, Lethal Weapon is great, and Lethal Weapon 2 is really good with the South Africans and the gold, and they got the big pallets of money. And then you get to Lethal Weapon 3. I didn't really love as much. 4, when they bring in Jet Li and Chris Rock, I thought was fantastic. Whereas Die Hard, I love the first one. Obviously, it's a great all-time classic. The second one, absolute garbage, where they're at the airport or fighting the Russians or whoever they are. Yeah. And then the third one with Samuel L. Jackson was really good. I like that one a lot, and Jeremy Irons was the bad guy. But then, like you said, after that, the 7 or 8 they made after that, I'm good.
I think, again, with longevity, you really start to lose the luster that was created with, the original. So, yeah, Lethal Weapon for me. I'm going to take you back to basketball, Wayne, your number one sport here. And I'm going to say Dwight Howard or Moses Malone.
Moses Malone. The big difference being scoring. Dwight Howard was an athletic freak. He was a great defensive player, grab you a lot of rebounds, get a lot of blocks. He scored 20 points per game a couple of times, but usually they were just like alley-oops and dunks. Moses Malone was a complete offensive player. The guy averaged like 26, 27, 28 points per game and 15, 16, 17 rebounds. He's a 2-time MVP. Yeah. I don't think Dwight Howard's ever won the MVP. He might have been in the running a couple of times. But he's been, Dwight was Defensive Player of the Year. But like I said, complete player, offense and defense, it's Moses Malone, greater than.
Yeah, I think, Dwight is certainly has more Defensive Player of the Year hardware and is maybe fresher in people's minds. I honestly think that Moses and probably a guy like George Gervin are 2 of the more underrated players of all time when it comes to the history of the NBA. I'm not sure people really understand just how impactful Moses was with the Philly roster and Houston. So I agree with Moses as well. I think he was a much better player, and I think he played in a tougher era as well. I don't want to get us down a rabbit hole of era talk, but as far as when centers ruled the game, I think that Moses was the superior player.
All right. Well, if you stuck with us this long, it is time for us to make our football picks. Every week, me and Sully do it. Now we got me and Jesse. We'll see how we do against the spread as well as the over-under for the game. First game is obviously the Thursday night game. It is tomorrow's game. It is the Colts and the Titans. The spread on this one is +2 to the Colts, and the over-under is 49.5. Now, to me, the key to this game, because both these teams are very good, but the key is going to be my fantasy football player, and that is A.J. Brown. So A.J. Brown, when he goes off, he is just a phenomenal, hard to tackle, great hands, great speed kind of guy. And I think that if he gets off, and this is obviously they're going to cover the spread easily because they're giving up those 2 to the Colts. I think he does. I think he gets 8 or 9 catches. I think Derrick Henry probably runs for 125 yards or whatever it is. I would say take the point or give up the points. Take the Titans, give up the points. And as far as the 49.5, I would say take the over because I'm thinking like 30-20, which puts you just half a point over.
Are you using your little machine still, your little predictor?
I did not this time. This is the one thing I didn't actually prep for.
So I am actually going to take. I'm going to take the Titans. I think that I'm going to take the over as well. I love the Colts young players, Quentin Nelson, Darius Leonard. I think they have some very good players. But I think that the Titans are trending upwards. Tannehill is continuing to impress me, and I think as the season goes on and the weather gets colder, nobody's going to want to try and tackle Derrick Henry.
All right, that's pretty fair. The next game, I don't have a video graphic, sorry everybody, for every single game. That's just too many. But the next game we have is the Cleveland Browns giving up 3 points to the Texans. The over-under is 53, so they're expecting this to be a fairly high-scoring game. I concur. I think this will be. I think Baker Mayfield's going to have a pretty good day against that Texans defense. The whole Texans team, to me, is just garbage. However, the Browns defense is not that good either. But what the Browns do, I think, better than the Texans is run the ball. So I'm going to say that the Texans cover the spread because I think they win by like 7. So let's call it 30-23. Ooh, that's a push. Under. All right, so I'm taking the under. I'm taking the Browns and the under.
I'm going to take the under. I think that the Browns, they no longer have OBJ. They're still transitioning into that type of offense where they don't have him. Even though they have a very successful running game, I don't think they're going to be able to put up 53 points, especially when you look at the Texans offense. So I'm taking the under there. I'm not as gamble savvy as Sully. So just explain this +3 to me,
So basically, if it's 30-27, it would be a push because you're giving up 3 points to the Texans. So the Texans are starting off 3-0 at kickoff.
Okay. So I think that the Browns are going to win by a larger margin than 3 points. I think they'll probably win by a touchdown.
All right. So we agree so far. Let's get some dissension going here.
But yuck, yeah.
The next game we have is the Detroit Lions going against the Washington football team. They are giving up 4 points to the Washington football team, and the over-under this one's 45.5. I'm going to say under on this game. The Washington offense is atrocious. Detroit can't seem to figure itself out. So I think this is going to be a low-scoring game. And you ready for this one? I say it's going to be Washington money line, which means no points. I think Washington wins outright.
Wow. I certainly am going to agree with you there on the under. I think that Washington is now down to is it Alex Smith now because Kyle Allen had a very ugly leg injury that they continue to show when they shouldn't have shown. But I'm pretty sure they're down to Alex Smith. I'd be shocked if they tried to go back to Dwayne Haskins after being benched. So that offense, I'm going to agree with you, is atrocious. The Lions are fighting for the Matty Patricias to continue to have a job. I'm going to go with the under there. As far as a winner, I'm going to take the Lions, but I'm going to say they win by a field goal. So that would mean that the Washington would take the points, correct?
Correct. So if you take the points, then you're taking Washington.
Yep. So I'm taking the points then.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm a slow learner with this gambling stuff.
Oh, no, that's fine. So the next game, obviously, is the Bucks and the Panthers. Two teams that are really weird. Obviously, Tom Brady had an atrocious game last week. And when I say atrocious game, I mean Tom Brady was overthrowing wide-open receivers, which we're used to seeing him do. Ugly interceptions. He did get Antonio Brown. That's not really an upgrade. So the Panthers are a team, they got Christian McCaffrey back, but he's not playing this week. So because he's not playing, I'm going to take the Bucks, and I'm going to give up the points. And as far as the over-under goes, so Bucks and the points and 50.5. I'm going to take the over because both these teams have been scoring 30 a game.
Yeah, I hate to agree with you again, Wayne. I know that we started off doing so far in these predictions, but I think that the Bucks, Tom Brady, that offense. They're going to come out hungry to impress after only putting up a measly field goal in that last game in the division. This is another interdivision game. So I'm going to take the over, and I'm going to take the Bucks.
All right. So far, we are neck and neck. Let's see what we got here. Here's a crappy game. The Eagles and the Giants.
The winner takes the division.
That's right. So the Eagles are giving up 3.5 points to the Giants, and the over-under is 45. Now, I think the over-under, I think they're going to go over both these teams. I think that they can score, even though if they were playing any other team besides each other, I would take the under. But because they're playing each other, I'm going to take the over. And I think Philly wins, but I don't know if they cover the 3.5. I think they might win by 1 or 2 or 3. So I'm going to take the Giants and the points, but I'm going to take the under.
So I'm going to take the over on the points. I think both these quarterbacks are turnover prone, especially Daniel Jones. Is he planning to start? If you know, I know last week they didn't start him.
As far as I know, he's starting. Yeah.
But if he starts, I know both those quarterbacks certainly will get sacked plenty, probably fumble once each, and they're known to cough the ball up as well. So that could certainly turn into points. So I'm going to take the over there, and I'm going to take the Eagles as far as the points. I think that the Giants' defense is pretty bad, so I'm going to take the Eagles winning by more than a touchdown.
Now, Sully and I like to joke about how much you don't like Carson Wentz. And so my question is, because he's a former Alabama guy, would you like to see Jalen Hurts starting there?
I wouldn't say that's my motivation for poo-pooing on Carson Wentz, but I would certainly be behind it. I mean, I'm not the GM that drafted, Jalen Hurts in the 3rd round. So, I mean, I think that the Eagles would certainly benefit from it. But at the same time, they are in line to win the division as long as they, stay steady. So hard to replace a guy that is leading their division. And especially, I have to agree with what Sully has mentioned, where, it's a skeleton crew on their offense and their offensive line specifically. So I haven't really given that as much thought or consideration with how poor his play has been. I still think that he could be better, but I would love to see Jalen Hurts in there. I do see that they're mixing him in the plays almost like the Saints do with Taysom Hill. So I think that, he's already finding himself on the field. And once you start doing that and the door starts to open, it's not long until, they start to picture him as the long-term option, and instead of looking at Wentz as a long-term option there.
The Packers and the Jaguars, are playing each other, and it is a 13.5 point spread to the Jaguars. I know that Green Bay has been playing great. Aaron Rodgers refuses to turn the ball over. The over-under is 52. I don't know if Gardner Minshew is back yet. I'm guessing based on that spread, he is not, or it would probably be like 8.5. So that said, I think the Packers win, but I still don't love that Packers defense. I still think they give up points. I still think Jacksonville can score some points here. So I'm going to take Jacksonville and the 13.5, and I'm going to take the over.
Give me Jacksonville and the under. I think that Jacksonville is gritty enough to keep it close. I think a 13.5 point spread is ugly. I think that Aaron Rodgers is having an impressive year. But I don't think it'll be a 52-point spread. So, give me Jacksonville and the under.
The next one is a battle of Sully's 2 favorite quarterbacks in the league. That is the Buffalo Bills and the Arizona Cardinals. As we have Josh Allen versus Kyler Murray. I love Kyler Murray. I've kind of poo-pooed Josh Allen going into the season, but he's really stepped it up in terms of accuracy. The 1.5 point spread means that this is pretty much an even game as far as they're concerned. Yeah. 56 over-under sounds about right. They're both going to throw a lot of touchdowns. They're both probably going to run for a touchdown. I wouldn't be surprised if this is a 35-30 game, which would put it way over. So I'm going to take the over for sure. And I think the Cardinals win outright. So I'm going to say Cardinals money line and the over.
I'm going to take the over, and I've got the Bills winning by more than 3 points. I think that they really positioned themselves well against the Seahawks this past week and really started to show their dominance in the AFC and showed that the AFC is the more dominant conference as we're getting towards playoff time. So I think that I've got the Bills winning. I'm gonna take the over with you, like you did as well. But I've got the Bills winning pretty handedly.
All right. Well, another AFC East matchup, and this is one that's exciting for non-Patriots fans, is we have the Dolphins and the Chargers because we get to see Tua versus Justin Herbert. And we see a couple battle rookies here. 48 is the over-under. 2.5 is the spread. The Dolphins are giving up the 2.5. I think the Dolphins win this game outright, and I think they win probably by 7 or 8, so I think they're going to cover the spread. I would take the Dolphins and give up the points. The 48, way over. Way over. Both these quarterbacks are going to throw for a lot of yards and a lot of touchdowns. Justin Herbert's been averaging like 325 yards a game. So I would say take the over and take the Dolphins giving up the points.
We're either going to have a very good week or a very bad week, Wayne, because I agree with you right there. I think that both these young quarterbacks have shown that they can put up points. They can ignite their offenses. The Chargers have Keenan Allen. Justin Herbert, the Dolphins, I think, have the better defense. So I'm going to take them to win the game and for them to win it pretty handedly. But I think that I'm certainly going to take the over. I think both these young offenses can put up points. Both these young quarterbacks have looked impressive so far.
All right. And then we have the Raiders and the Broncos. The over-under is 52. The +5 is to the Broncos. The Broncos are weird because sometimes they look decent. They never look good. Sometimes they look decent, and then other times they just look worse than the Jets even.
The Broncos are weird.
Yeah. So it depends on which Broncos team shows up here. The over-under, I think that this is going to be an under because I'm going to say the Broncos don't show up, and it's going to be 30-10, which is 40 way under, and definitely the Raiders cover the spread. So I'm taking Vegas, giving up the points, and taking the under.
Okay, so I was actually going to take, and I am going to take the under, and I'm going to take the Broncos. I'm going to give the Broncos the points there. I think it'll be a close enough game. I love the Broncos offense. They're young weapons. Even though I don't like Drew Lock, I think all they need is the right quarterback there. I honestly, if they had Ryan Fitzpatrick there right now, I think, they could probably fight for a playoff spot. I don't love much of, the Las Vegas Raiders offense. But this is going to be a matchup of those Alabama receivers that were taken in this past draft, Ruggs and Judy. So I'll try and watch clips of this, if I have any access to it. But again, I'm going to take the under, and I'm going to give the Broncos the points.
All right. The next game we have the Rams and the Seahawks. The Rams are giving up 2, so the Rams are favored in this one. The Seahawks defense has looked absolutely awful. The Rams don't look great. They look, again, another average-looking team. 55.5 is a lot of points. I'm taking the over before I even get started because both these teams have horrible defenses. With the exception of Aaron Donald, obviously, he's going to put pressure on Russell Wilson, but Russell Wilson is going to be able to escape that pressure. And I think that DK Metcalf has a good game here, maybe 8-9 receptions. So I'm going to take the over, and I'm going to take Seattle.
I, too, am going to take, 55.5. That's...
It's called 28-27.
Yeah, that's... I'm trying to think of the Rams offense. The Rams offense has seemed iffy this year. It seems hot and cold. I'm actually going to go with the under in this one. And I'm going to give the Seahawks the points there. I think they actually win by a larger margin. Even though their defense hasn't been impressive, I haven't been impressed by the Rams at all this year.
Now, when you say give the points to the Seahawks, do you mean you're taking the Rams and giving up the points, or do you mean you're taking the Seahawks and taking the points?
The Seahawks are going to win, and I think they win by more than the 2 points right there.
So you want to go Seahawks money line.
Yeah.
Money line is when there's no spread. You're just taking them to win outright.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna learn this lingo by the end of the episode.
All right. The couple games to go here. We've got the Bengals and the Steelers. This one's over under 47. They're giving 7.5 to Joe Burrow and the Bengals. Now, here's what I'm going to say, and you're going to think I'm crazy. Money line, Bengals. Joe Burrow is going to hand the Steelers their first loss. So take the Steelers or take the Bengals. And as for the 47, take the over. Joe Burrow, 4 touchdowns this game.
You may not be as crazy, Wayne, because, Big Ben may not play this game. I did see that he was put on the COVID list. I believe that's like a 5-day list. So there's the potential that he misses this game. I think that Joe Burrow has looked impressive to this point, and I wouldn't be shocked by that. I'm going to say under. I think that, that's contingent on if Big Ben doesn't play. So, I mean, as it currently stands, I'm going to say he doesn't play. And if that's the case, I'm going to take under the 47 points. And I'm going to say that I'm going to, if there's space on your bandwagon, Wayne, let me on, because I'm going to take that as well. I'm going to take the Bengals money line.
Nice. 2 games to go here. We have the Saints and the 49ers. Talk about a mismatch. The plus 9.5. This is the one that should have been plus 13.5. So I'm actually going to take the Saints and give up the 9.5 because I think they win by 20 this game. And as far as the 50, I just don't think San Francisco is going to score a lot against that Saints defense. Expect a lot of turnovers. So I'm going to take the Saints and the under.
Okay. I'm gonna take the over. I think that Drew Brees is gonna continue to cruise that offense. He's gonna continue to cruise. So I'm gonna take the over there. I think that the 49ers could potentially put up some points, and that will just creep up that over there. 9.5.
Once you get around double digits, it gets tough.
Yeah, it's a decent sized spread. So I think, I do think the Saints win this game, but yeah, as soon as you get to close to 10, it makes me wonder. I'm going to take the Saints. I think that they will win by at least 10 points. All
right, and the last game, this one's saved for us here. We have the Patriots and the Ravens. This is the Sunday night game. 43.5 is the over-under, plus 7 to the Patriots. I love the Patriots. I mean, I love the Patriots. I really do. They're not going to cover that spread. No. Take the Bengals because they're going to win by a lot. And the 43.5, I'd say take the under because I don't know if the Patriots score a touchdown this game. They maybe get 6, 2 field goals.
Yeah, I mean, the Patriots beat the Jets by a measly 3 points as time expired. So I don't love that 7-point spread. Honestly, I'm going to take the over. I think that the Ravens offense needs to wake up. They need to put more effort into their offense as the playoffs are looming, and as the Steelers are trying to, certainly take a stronghold on that division. They want to win that division as early as possible. But I think that the Patriots have done a decent job at defending Lamar Jackson so far in their matchups with him. I think this is going to be a great matchup of 2 mobile quarterbacks, one more past and one present. But I'm going to take the over, and I'm going to take the I don't think the difference is going to be as large as 7 points.
Well, you're taking New England and taking the points. Huh?
Yep.
All right. So those are our picks. We actually kind of wrapped up the show a little quick, so I think maybe we get one more over-under. I mean, not over-under, greater than, just for the sake of it. Let me take a look. Let's see if I got a good one here for you.
I've got a food-related one if you want me to just toss out a food-related one while you're looking for a better one.
Yeah, shoot it up.
All right, so I've got I think that homemade chips are better than homemade fries. I'm not a big French fry guy, and I love when a restaurant will bring me, like their house-made chips.
So this is interesting. So I'm going to take the homemade fries as greater than, only because I like the softness in the middle. So yeah. I like the crispy outside and the softness in the middle. Something about chips, I have to be in the mood for chips because they're just totally crunchy. Yeah. So when I eat fries, I like that you bite into it, maybe crisp on the outside and soft on the inside. I kind of like that texture, so I would take the fries over the chips.
Okay, yeah, they're both a good compliment. But I always, French fries are not even my favorite form of potato.
Next one I have for you, it's a movie one. Freddy or Jason?
I'm going to take Freddy. Honestly, there are times that, I don't want to watch that at night after the sun goes down. I don't want to fall asleep. So I'm going to take Freddy in that instance. I think that he is scarier, and I don't want to face him at all. Jason, even though he's got about 14 movies about him now, I think that Freddy is the scarier individual. Get out of my
Yeah, it's much scarier. I would take Freddy as well. I think both those movies get a little bit overboard and clownish, like after like the second or third one. But I will say, watching Nightmare on Elm Street, the first one, it is terrifying. I mean, it is really scary. And so obviously they got a little bit jokier and jokier as they went. But I would say Freddy Krueger is terrifying, and the idea that somebody could kill you when you're sleeping, like Jason, at least you can run away from him. Like in Freddy, he's in your dreams; you can't do anything about it.
I am going to get tired. Yeah. So that's the scariest thing is like, after watching that, I'm just like, oh man, I got to stay up. I got to stay up. So I think that one had a pretty decent impact on me after the fact. I got another one for you, and it's kind of a three-parter.
Okay.
It is Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, or Tom Holland. Who's been the best Spider-Man so far? We've seen them all be in multiple movies so far and multiple performances. Are you going to be a prisoner of the moment with one, or did the other two strike a chord with you and really make an impact as Spider-Man?
Yeah, so this one, the order I'm going to put him in, and I love Tom Holland, I really do, and I love all the new Marvel movies. But for me, it goes Tobey Maguire, Tom Holland, Andrew Garfield. Garfield's my least favorite of the three of them. Tobey Maguire is the first Spider-Man I saw. It's the first Marvel movie, if you really think about it, that I saw in the theater. It was just awesome, and Spider-Man's 1, 2, and 3, as much as I hated Venom in 3 being over Grace, that bothered me. But the movies themselves, they hold their own. They're really good, and Tobey Maguire is a great actor. We've seen him in like The Cider House Rules. We've seen him in, I think, The Brothers, and he's always good. Tobey Maguire is always good. Tom Holland, I love because he's charming and he's fun and he's just like a cool kid and you like him. He's kind of nerdy cool. So I like that about him. I don't like anything about Garfield. So it goes for me, Maguire, Holland, Garfield.
Yeah, large gap between those two and Garfield. I agree with you there. I would probably flip them. I think that Tom Holland has been the best portrayal of a high school Peter Parker. Someone who can, play around with the suit, be so curious yet so smart. And I think that he's been the best Spider-Man that we've been able to see so far. Obviously, I think, maybe I'm a prisoner of the moment because of the performances that he's had and the connection that he had with Robert Downey Jr. and Iron Man. I think those were super impactful in those movies as well. So I'm giving it to Tom Holland. I do think that Tobey Maguire gets props for being the first Spider-Man and the first guy to kind of really get the ball moving, in a faster direction with superhero movies. I think he did a really nice job. I think I'll always remember, that upside down kiss and Kirsten Dunst and the rain and other things happening during that. I may have paused it, but I would go, Tom Holland, Tobey Maguire, and then large gap Andrew Garfield. I honestly don't think that I have sat through both of the Andrew Garfield movies.
Yeah. And then, of course, we would be remiss. I do want to say again, thank you to any veterans who served, who are still around. We appreciate you guys serving. Get the Invader coffee. It's veteran owned. The one other party thing, I didn't have it in the news, but it's kind of a big story. Obviously, Alex Trebek, Sean Connery, we lose both of them. And obviously, Connery was old. He hadn't really done anything in a long time. We hadn't seen. I love Sean Connery, so I love Finding Forrester, The Untouchables. His older stuff. I didn't really Entrapment. I didn't really get into the James Bond movies, so I like his older stuff. And then Trebek, obviously, he was battling stomach cancer or pancreatic cancer. Lost his battle again. The cancer takes another person. It's just horrible. Hopefully, we get a vaccine for that someday. But I did see a funny meme about it that actually made me laugh in the somber moment, which was it said Sean Connery waiting for Alex Trebek in heaven. And it was the Saturday Night Live thing. Is like, we meet again, Trebek.
Yeah, suck it, Trebek. That is funny. I mean, I've certainly seen Sean Connery in movies before. And I know that's not even him in the Saturday Night Live performances there. But just the fact that, someone is cameoing him or portraying him, and we lose them both in the same week. I think that's crazy coincidence. But certainly tough to lose those two. They both lived to be beyond 75, 80 years old. So lived powerful lives. I also didn't see any of the James Bond movies. To be honest, Pierce Brosnan is probably my James Bond. Just from the
Daniel
movies,
Craig's mine, but right.
just from the movies that I've seen. I haven't seen really any of the Daniel Craig ones, even though I've heard good things about them.
Oh, blasphemy.
I'll have to watch them, but I just haven't yet. So that's why Pierce Brosnan. That's been my James Bond.
Yeah, see, I watched I think it was
That's
Casino
my guy, baby.
Well, Casino Royale was the first Daniel Craig one. I remember watching it, and I'd never really gotten into the Bonds because the villains always seemed kind of cheesy and campy. But I watched Casino Royale, and I thought, wow, is this what all the James Bonds are like? And then I went back to try to watch an old one, and I was like, nope. I turned it off.
Nope, they're corny.
Yeah. But no, the new ones are great. I love the new ones. Skyfall is fantastic.
If you had your pick, who is the next James Bond?
If I had my pick,
does he have to be British?
It does have to be a British guy. I don't want to see an American doing a fake British accent, and it can't be an American being an American because 007 is the Mission Impossible. It's the British intelligence, so it's got to be somebody from England or at least Scotland or something. Because at least Sean Connery is Scottish, Irish. I know somebody talked about Benedict Cumberbatch as a potential, but to me, he's a little too wiry and gangly to be a James Bond. I mean, I know they can put on weight, but here's the two I'm gonna throw out there. The one that's been thrown around is Idris Elba as James Bond. I like it. I'm a big Idris Elba fan, so I think it's good. But I'm a really big Gerard Butler fan, and I think he'd be a good James Bond.
Okay. What about, how do you feel about Tom Hardy?
Tom Hardy, is he British?
I thought he was,
or he's Australian, maybe something like that, right?
I thought he was, Irish or Scottish. I thought he was somewhere over there. I mean, I'd have to, certainly look for clarification, but I think that he would be one if he fits the qualifications, he'd be a great 007. But of the two you named, give me Idris Elba. I think it'd be, great for him to get that shine. I think he's been looked at as a great actor for his performances and also a good-looking fellow. So he fits the bill.
And again, a line I quoted today from Finding Forrester, Sean Connery, which was great, is the guy comes to visit them. He's giving Sean Connery his socks and his whatever, and he gives him his check. And he goes, "Oh, did you cash the last check? Because it's still showing as outstanding." He goes, "Not as outstanding as it once was."
Yeah, I mean, his voice is all time.
All right, so that said, what happens, Kenny, when we close our eyes for the very last time?